I'm Janet Grabowski. I'm the president of the Hernando Chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society. We are having our Wings in the Garden event at the Nature Coast Botanical Garden in Spring Hill, Florida. And we are giving away seedlings, which I grew, of wildflowers. We're celebrating pollinators at the Wings in the Garden event, and these are all pollinator plants that grew from seed, and a lot of the seed was collected from this area. They're well adapted to Hernando County, where we are. This is dotted horse mint. They were a little bit late because I had a little bit of a failure, so I had to reseed. So they're a little small. These are scarlet sage. These are our Indian blanket. This is black-eyed Susan. That's one of my favorites. I've always loved black-eyed Susan. Lanceleaf coreopsis and butterfly milkweed.
Hi, I'm John Hoak, and we're here at the Nature Coast Botanical Garden. And my table's telling people about certified wildlife backyards and the process that you can go through to get your yard certified. Basically, it's a simple checklist, making sure that you're providing the critical components needed for wildlife in your landscape: cover, water, food, and a place to raise their young. So it is a National Wildlife Federation program. It's very easy to sign up. You can find it online, and it's just a simple checklist and making sure you have those different components, and that's all you need. And they provide a lot of good sources for different plant lists, so you can get those covers and foods and places for them to raise their young. Yeah.
Awesome. And you get a cool sign, right?
Yes, you get an awesome sign for your yard. Yeah. So everybody can see what you're doing for wildlife. And we've actually had over 20 species of birds this morning. I hear a couple bangs coming through, some chickadees right now. We've had some few interesting migratory warblers and everything. It's been great. So, yeah.
So I'm Heather Sharkey, and I'm talking about exotic plants today instead of natives. So most people know some of these either because they have them in their yard or because they've been fighting them to get them out of their yard. A lot of the common ones that people know are skunk vine and air potato. And I'm more than happy to talk too about some of the really good news that we have, like biological controls, and as well as some other methods for getting them out. So in Hernando County, in addition to camphor trees, which are a very popular yard tree that create a lot of babies everywhere, we actually have managed to nearly eradicate and get listed both Brazilian pepper and lead tree. Those are some nuisance plants that our county has finally said enough is enough, and people can actually be fined, although they don't really enforce it so much as they just encourage people to remove them. But we, like many people, are fighting Kogan grass, and Japanese climbing fern is a big problem in our forests. That's not one that people are very familiar with because it's not very often a yard kind of plant. But we're here to educate people and get them more familiar with things to avoid, things that the big box stores might still be selling that we'd really rather not have them selling. So just educating people about exotics and the problems that they cause. So some of the literature that we have is from the CISMA, which is a cooperative invasive species management group that is mostly coordinated between several different government entities: Florida Forest Service, the State Parks System, SwiftMud has been a very active member. We mostly have just produced a couple of outreach pieces, and we've done some work days on various properties around. But there's also the list of invasive plants, which isn't EPSI anymore, is it? It's Flepsies, FISP, yes. So some of our things don't have the newest version, but it does list all of the category 1 and 2 invasives that people encounter in our state.
Hi, I'm Alice Smith, and I'm one of the volunteers here at the Native Plant Garden, which is part of the Nature Coast Botanical Gardens in Spring Hill, Florida. And we started working in earnest on our garden about 3 years ago. We wanted to highlight plants that grow in Sandhill conditions, which are native here to Hernando West. We're in West Central Florida, and this is Hernando County. And so little by little, we've cleared out invasives, and we've determined what areas we want to have beds. And we got a wildflower grant from the Florida Wildflower Foundation 2 years ago for planting wildflowers. And so we've been working on that grant, learning as we go about shade and sun conditions, having to clear areas, and what wildflowers really are thriving in our gardens. And so behind me is part of our pollinator garden that we developed to showcase many of the pollinators that are here in Central Florida, as well as butterflies. So we've done host plants like the corky stem passion flower vine for our zebra longwings, which of course is our state butterfly, as well as the Gulf literaries, which are very common here in West Central Florida. We've put in sun plants, things that grow all season long, because we get a lot of visitors here to the botanical gardens, and they come through our native plant garden. We're about an acre in size, and we have a variety of gardens. The Sandhill, the hammock area. We have an area over by a pond that has some fish in it, like your koi, which are not native. The pond also has catfish, and it has bullfrogs, and we put some pickerel and other native plants that grow in water conditions. And it's very shady, so we have a variety of native plants that thrive in the shade, because homeowners are always saying, oh, I have this shady spot, I need something for my garden. And we can take them and show them, here is a wonderful plant that you can use in your garden, and explain to them how to plant it, how to take care of it, when it'll bloom, what it'll attract, and things like that. So we have wonderful signage that we've added to the garden as part of our wildflower planting grant. And here's an example of one, all the buzz about pollinators. And one of our board members, Cindy Liberton, developed the signs, and we took all the pictures here of the different pollinators and the plants in bloom. And so today is the kickoff of our wildflower planting and our signage, and we invited the public, and we invited some county commissioners, and tried to get the word out. And we call it Wings in the Garden, and we've gotten great feedback from the people who've come today. So we're hoping that this becomes an annual event, and we're partnering with the Spring Hill Garden Club, which actually maintains the botanical gardens, so that we can promote what they're doing and work with them to promote more native plants in their nursery. I volunteer with the chapter, and my main job with them is to coordinate the volunteers here at the Native Plant Garden, and I've been doing that for about 3 years. And this year I was added to the board of directors, so I attend the board meetings. And it's really been inspiring to see our chapter grow and persevere through all of the COVID problems that all of us have had. And we're adding new members, younger people who are interested in getting involved and having native plants in their yard. And having a resource like this garden that our chapter maintains, so that we have to learn about the native plants, has been wonderful for me. And as a master gardener now with the Hernando County Extension, I've been able to share that knowledge, and I've become their native plant go-to person to ask when homeowners and other master gardeners have questions about native plants.
I'm Vince Morris. I am a vice president for the Hernando County chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society. You are now visiting the Sandhill portion of our botanical garden. The botanical garden has given us several booth-size parcels because we're starting to do a pretty good job with them, and we have broken them into different plant communities. So Sandhill plant community is our attempt to demonstrate sandhill plants that would have grown in the Spring Hill area where we are right now, so everyone can see them. But we have made some attempt to make sort of a natural type setting using the mulch is pine straw, for example, and many of the plants here are native plants just from the specific area. We also have a demonstration of how prescribed burning can help with maintaining sandhills, and we've enlightened folks on where to go see a good sandhill in the area, say for example Krumer Citrus, which are short drives from here. We even brought a drip torch to demonstrate that how prescribed burning is done to maintain the plant communities for the plants. We're also fortunate enough to be here during the fall right now when a lot of the species that we have here are blooming. For example, Elytris is blooming, and beautyberry has nice, bright, showy berries on it right now. When I light the ground on fire, I'm showing them that this is a traditional tool that we use for prescribed burning, and that the pine needles that we're using for a mulch would normally be the fuel that would be carrying the fire if we were to be burning under normal conditions. That's about what I'm telling them. I'm also telling them that now Forest Service and other agencies in the future are going to be burning using a drone instead of a drip torch, and that other big agencies like FWC and forestry do a lot of prescribed burning, and that they may experience smoke and something maybe not as enjoyable from our prescribed burning, but they should learn to accept it for all the good that it does.
Hi, I'm Jason LaRoche. I am the current secretary of the Hernando Chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society. And today I'm showing off the Sandhill portion of our native plant demonstration garden. And what we try and impart to the people visiting is that letting them know that much of Spring Hill, where these gardens exist, historically we're about 90% sandhill ecosystem community. And we're trying to let them know that you can recreate some of that ecosystem in your backyards to provide basically islands that benefit plants and wildlife and insects and pollinators in between the actual preserves where they're doing prescribed burn and having a very healthy ecosystem. They also need places to migrate between those well-maintained preserves, such as your backyard if you're using native plants. And of course, native plants have a whole multitude of benefits, such as they don't require any special soils or chemicals or fertilizers or pesticides, which are going to hurt the wildlife rather than bring them to your backyard. And we also try and let people know the benefits of bringing wildlife to their backyard, how much enjoyment you can have in seeing a diversity of wildlife rather than what you might already exist, a monoculture of a small number of native plants you might have, and a small number of species of birds and things like that. You can attract a lot more by bringing the actual plants and trees and creating space that they actually use as part of their life cycle.
Very nice.
Okay. Oops. I can't move.
You can't
Okay.
move, sorry.
So we have Serenoa repens, green saw palmetto. We also have some silver saw palmetto. We have lots of garbaria that's not in bloom right now, but in a couple weeks we're getting ready to pop. We have a very large rusty leonia right here. It's probably due to be cut down this winter and let it start over again, because that's another thing we like to impart is obviously we can't burn in our backyards, but we can help mimic fire by letting these species grow to a certain height and then taking them down to the ground. It kind of replicates the fire cycle that might occur in nature normally. And you actually get a tremendous rebound once you do something like that. You'll see, like once I cut this down, within a matter of weeks, you'll see this burst out with new leaves in the springtime. We also have things like the liatris. We have, let me look around, we also have lopsided Indian grass, which is a fall favorite in October. A little bit going right there, but we expect as the years go on, this is going to develop, and we'll get a lot more of these species spreading out and reseeding all over this area. And hopefully it'll look like a pristine system more and more every year.